I'd like to introduce Kerry. Kerry, I met Kerry a month ago or something. Yeah, come on up. A month ago or so, she was here visiting. Thank you for inviting her. She drove up from San Diego last night, and she's invented a product that helps for water conservation for your shower. So if any of you have shower thoughts and are familiar with shower thoughts, she's the queen of shower thoughts. So Kerry is going to tell us about what she's been doing with her product, how she came up with it, and I think we're going to have some kind of conversation going on up here. So I'll let you take the mic from here.
All right, thank you. Well, this is really a growth opportunity for me because this isn't normally how I communicate what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. So bear with me. So yes, I did. I invented a very smart shower device that works with your shower head. Because there's already a lot of shower heads out there, I didn't need to reinvent the wheel. I just needed to make it better. So today, my marketing team, Carl over here on my right, Jason in the back, we're going to do something different today because, the topic is about changing the water conservation conversation. There's a lot of reasons why we need to do that because things just aren't working and we are at a critical point here. So I would like to just sit here and go through our slides a little bit so you guys have something to follow along. It will help me to stay on track because there's so much always going on in here. So we're just going to have a conversation, and then what we'll do is open it up for you guys to ask us what's most important to you. What do you really want to know? So I know we're kind of changing it up a little bit, but hey, that's what we do, okay? So I love what Mike did publish because it's true, and I did say it. I am a self-proclaimed disruptor for good. I love disruptive innovation. If something's not working, why? And let's figure out if we can change that. So kind of out of necessity, I became an actual inventor, and I started a company around that. So I'm the co-founder and the CEO of Epiphany Shower, and you guys will have all of this available to you at the end of this so that you can have more information to make more thoughtful decisions for yourself, as well as considering joining our movement here, joining the tribe, because it all starts just in your daily shower. Okay, so I've said enough, so let me introduce Carl, and Carl's got an amazing background. Even personally, just traveling the world. He's lived in so many places. I've traveled around mostly the United States, a few European countries, but I love that what we put together is a really broad perspective on what's going on in the whole world, but then saying, we got to start in our own backyard, right? So let's start here, regionally, nationally, and then we can go ahead and solve some of the global problems too. Okay, all right, so we're going to take a seat here. All right. Hey, Mike, you want this back? Oh, I do want to say one thing, though. Sorry. This is like an incredible opportunity for us. We're really excited that we do get to share this. And so, yes, Jonathan, Bradshaw, Mike, John, I'm trying to think. Christy? Yeah, where's Christy? There she is. Just thank you for this opportunity because this is how we get this going is by sharing it. So thank you for this opportunity. And you guys, thanks for coming here this morning. We really appreciate it. I don't know.
Test, test.
Yeah. Hello? This works? Oh, perfect. Okay. So, you've already heard about me. My partner is back in Cincinnati, our headquarters, holding down the fort. Robert Dunkijacobs is a prolific inventor. He was the lead, GE's project Logix, how I got to see my babies on an ultrasound. So that might give you a little secret of how we do the magic. He, along with me, we're humanitarians. We really care about the world, and we want to make sure there's a lot of water and food available. So Robert is my partner, my co-founder, and the chief scientist. And he's actually available by phone today. If there's anybody out there that says, I really want to know more, and I want to get in the weeds, and I'm going to say, absolutely, here's his number. Carl, let you introduce yourself.
Sounds good. Hi, my name is Carl Clift. I'm from Toronto. We just came down for this meeting as well as some other meetings in San Diego. I'll get into my background a little bit later, but my partner in the back there who's filming vividly is Jason. We run sales and marketing for the company. We were very excited when we first met Kerry here to look at this space. I've got a background here in Palo Alto in the 90s. A lot of fun. We can talk about that later. It's a very interesting solution space right now in terms of the timing of water and the timing of the technology, Internet of Things, the sharing and connectivity of data in the home. And this is very, very interesting stuff that we're looking at now. And you're going to see some of that today.
So I've said this, we need to change the conversation. We need it to be more inclusive, and we need to talk about like what we've been doing and what's not working, because we've passed laws that force people to conserve water and energy, and we're offering limited solutions, but they're not meeting customers' expectations. So we're not getting anywhere, especially in the shower space. So we're hoping that this conversation is enlightening so that you can see what it is that you can do on a very personal level. So yeah. And this is our goal. We want each and every one of you to leave today feeling confident and empowered that you can be part of the solution. And then you might get tired of hearing this, but it really does start with that shower you either took this morning or last night. And if you didn't get one, you might want to do one later. I think we can all agree that there's a really big problem globally, nationally, regionally, and it's not getting any better. Urban population is growing so fast. We're having issues just even getting water to a lot of cities. So, it's oil was the big thing in the 20th century, and water is the big deal in the 21st century. And there's no replacement for it. So we have to really be good stewards on saving it, and we have to have ways to save it that we're all going to be willing to do it.
So we just wanted to, we don't mean to be negative, but it's very important to understand where we actually sit today and what it's going to look like tomorrow if we don't make specific changes to things like infrastructure, to usage itself at the home level, at the agricultural level. And just wanted to throw a few slides in here. On the left-hand side is from BBC. I mean, these are the major cities in the world that are running into serious problems. And I'm assuming everybody has, read and seen some of this stuff. Have you seen, Cape Town missed day zero by a few weeks? Cape Town, that's a pretty big city to miss and almost go without water. Sao Paulo, and I've done some work down there. There's 22 million people. They built their main reservoir that feeds is dry. It's gone. The intake pipe is 10 feet higher than the level of where the water is, because the water is now underground. So they're now spending hundreds of millions of dollars to pump water from under the ground up and into the intake pipe. They can't even pump it into the lake because the intake pipe is 10 feet higher than the lake. Somebody should have thought about that. The water that gets to your shower and to your tap takes 50 years to get there. They're 50 years late. 22 million people. That's a real concern. So at some point in time, somebody's going to have to really, really, really focus on this. And as Kerry said, the top-down approach, governments, ESCOs, utilities, it's not working. If you look nationally, it's happening here. I'm from Canada, so we're fine.
Well, and they think they are, but they're really not. They're just in denial. But this is really interesting. This is where this got my attention big time. 31% of the U.S. population, we're right here, guys. This is us. And we've been in the red zone for a long time. And in the 22% over here that you see that's most of our bread basket. That's what the people who are growing the food that we're eating. And in California, Central California, oh my gosh, the groundwater's been depleted so fast, and like Carl said, it's a 50-year cycle. So I'm okay telling you my age. I'm 56 years old. It already happened once. I don't get to see that water again. It's done. Do my kids get to see that? Do your grandchildren, my grandchildren, are they going to have enough water? Because I can tell you in Stratford, California, there's a farmer that will just break your heart when you hear his story, that this farm's been in this family for more than 100 years. There's not enough groundwater. There's water fights between the residents who want the water, and they want him to grow the food. He's like, I don't have enough water to grow the food that you want. And we should have been thinking about this plan more than 15, 20 years ago. So, better late than never? Yeah. And regionally, well, you guys know more about your region than I do. So this is why I'm so excited to come to Pasadena, and I want to hang out with you because I want to understand what you feel your biggest challenges are, and then how we can, come together and think about some new, fresh ideas on how we can provide some solutions. This one, it was funny because Carl and I were talking about this, and when you think about it, you say, okay, my gosh, so there's scarcity, there's quality issues, just think of Flint, Michigan, mandates, rebates, all of this stuff, and you go, oh my gosh, it's so complicated. Where do you start? And I think that's part of the problem and why we need to have this conversation is, oh my gosh, is there an easy button? Well, we have one. So, do you want to say anything else on that one?
Nope, that makes sense, absolutely.
Okay, and so here is what's coming. This is our reality. I don't know how many of you might have read the article in the Sacramento Bee a while back, but 55-gallon limit per person per day is on its way, 3 short years. And then after that, it's going to get reduced down to 50 gallons of water. So I don't know if you all know how many gallons of water you use a day. By the way, here's some really good news about how cool you guys are. Californians on average use 90 gallons a day. The rest of the country is using about 200 gallons. So, we're pretty smart, and we're already being pretty diligent. And you guys got an A- out of all the other states on your water conservation efforts. So, yay, California. But here's what's going to happen. They're going to implement this. And then here's a quote, though. They said, but we don't know how consumers are going to be required to meet these goals. So they're just going to put them into place, and then it's going to be up to you and me to figure out how do I make 55 gallons of water work? And so the conversation really could go, hey, Carl, so I haven't had a shower in 2 days because I needed to do the dishes and the laundry, and I actually wanted to fill up the pasta pan because I'm making spaghetti, and you're going to say, you're a little ripe, so maybe you could take the shower and do the dishes, whatever, after. We don't want that to happen, but like Carl mentioned earlier, Cape Town, guess what they were doing? Yes, they were having to decide, shower today, dishes. Okay.
This is where Kerry gets to tell her story. When I met Kerry, whenever you get involved with a business or you're running a business, you have to have a certain passion and something that drives you. I grew up in an island, which yes, I have a strange accent. You'll figure this out at some point. But I grew up in an island where we had to catch our water. We then would have a cistern underneath the house, and we would collect the water under the house. So therefore, every 12 to 18 months, I'm on the roof with my dad. We're having to clean the roof to keep it very, very clean, so that because the water that comes in is not treated, is captured underneath, and then we bring it up. So we didn't have baths, and we weren't poor. We just didn't have baths. We had the cup for the toothbrush. You certainly didn't let anything run. So when I spoke to Kerry and we got into this from a business point of view, it resonated with me. Kerry will give you a story here that I think will also resonate with you because she's actually not Ohio born and bred. She's from here.
Thank you. Yes, and in Ohio, they look at me like I have a third eye or antennas coming out of my head. We have plenty of water. There's no problem. Like, okay, I'll go back to my people in California. So I'm actually 5th generation San Diegan. And why I share that is because where all this started, why this is basically in my DNA, I spent my summers with my grandfather on a 100-acre ranch in San Diego. He was one of the largest fruit producers in San Diego. So at a very early age, I learned all about groundwater and how important it was that we be good stewards with the water that we had because, and he's Greek, so we called him Baba. And Baba said, Ketty Lynn, we have to be good stewards because we have to make sure everybody has food and water. Well, that has stayed with me, and this is why I don't want to tell the story, because it is. It is my passion.
Keep going.
Well, you can see why Carl said, I got to meet this crazy lady, because if she's this passionate that when she tells that story, it kind of chokes her up. But it really set me up for a lifetime of saying, I can do my part with subtle changes, well then I can make that, we can duplicate that. It's not hard. You just have to be smarter about it. So I grew up in the 70s, and I think there's enough of you here that remember that Governor Brown was governor back then too, and we had campaigns do you remember the Don't Blush, Share a Flush? And there was a Shower with a Friend. That one did not go over well in my family. You can't blame a girl for trying. And then what we've had, though, was the super low flow shower heads and all that kind of fun stuff. So what happened for me, where this epiphany happened, was I'm in Ohio. I come back all the time to visit because I have family here. I'm back for a high school reunion. I'm so excited. We stayed in this lovely upscale LEED certified hotel, and I really was impressed with all of the energy saving features. It was awesome. So I get ready, and you know, girls, ladies, 20-year reunion, whatever, we want to look good. So I'm like, I might need an extra 5 minutes in the shower. So I went in, and it was a huge fail. Huge fail. The 40% savings that hotel was expecting to get using the device they had in there, all that savings went down the drain. That shower should have only taken 5 minutes. It was 15 minutes of absolute frustration, disappointment, but an epiphany.
And that epiphany, that we know that something isn't working when Seinfeld does a whole episode on it. Now, everybody's seen that episode, I'm sure. What decade was that? In the 90s. I think we're 2019 now. The 90s. And nothing has happened since. So when Kerry came to me and we're talking about from a business point of view in terms of, is there a gap in the market? What is it looking like? She showed me this, and this is a bit of a stunner. So when you look at the actual performances of devices, appliances in the home, there's been success in every space except the shower. From a business point of view, I like that. That means there's a gap there, and there's a new category as such, which we've now come to understand from the large plumbing manufacturers as such.
That's me. So, of course, I looked at this differently, because when I stood in that shower and I said, wait a minute, why is this shower literally it sucked? And I'm like, well, if they're squeezing the pipes and you have to stay in twice as long, what makes sense is we need to control the flow during the entire shower. That's where you're going to have the savings. So I literally jumped out of the shower and grabbed some hotel stationery, and I started just everything that was in my brain and what I saw, and that just evolved. I hate to read slides because then it just doesn't feel good for me. But basically what it is if we control the flow during the whole shower, and we give you drive your shower, you know when you need the water, when you don't, you know when you want to shave your legs and you hide in the corner so it doesn't knock the shaving cream off your legs yet, and we have the conditioner going at the same time if we're trying to be real diligent. We don't need that full flow all the time because you naturally are in and out of that flow whether you realize it or not. So instead of squeezing the pipe, let them have their shower and do it the way they want to, because the water savings, you're never going to miss a drop of that. So let's start with the shower and putting less water into the sewer system, and then we have less water that we have to worry about treating. So that's what we did, and I think my whole thing, especially like with kids, my kids would always say, can we have our cake and eat it too? Yes, please, and thank you. Yes, you can have your cake and eat it too, because this device doesn't ask you to do anything different than what you already are doing. And then, this is what happens. So we've empowered you. It's luxury that's kind to the earth, and it's saving you money. It's a device that doesn't require any intervention at all. Straight out of the box, this thing is so wicked smart. You install it in your shower, it takes less than 5 minutes. All you need is an adjustable wrench and some Teflon tape, and the Teflon tape comes in the packaging. Once you turn that on, once your shower's on, all the savings, features, and benefits happen automatically. And they continue to happen from the second you turn on your shower until you finish your shower. And so we were talking, and I think Mike, we were talking about how do you make something like water conservation, how do you make that become second nature? Like it's just of course I have an epiphany, of course that's what we do. And this is what we said, what we came up with. You have to meet or exceed the customer's expectations. You have to make it easy and accessible. And you have to make it where they want to use it and keep using it. And then there has to be scalability, and it has to have legs and longevity. So the Epiphany product is all of this. And so, yes, we started a very viable business model. And as Carl said, we reached out to people who are way smarter than I am, way more talented than I am, and said, this is what we want to do because this is our legacy. This is what we owe this to future generations. So let's get smarter. Let us be remembered as they were the really smart people, came up with a simple solution that went global. Oh, yeah, and we won't have to have cash infusions for this business model because, well, I'll save that one for later. So let's show you how this thing works. I guess we have no audio.
No audio, no.
Okay. So when the water comes up to temperature, it senses that, and it dials the flow back automatically. So if you're not in the shower, I might have you run this twice if that's possible. Maybe? No? Okay, so you're seeing the flow change, right? You see the guy underneath, and he's kind of going back and forth, and he's adjusting that flow. So what happens here is there's a proximity sensor, and we use artificial intelligence and proximity sensors to know where you are in proximity to your shower head. So when you want a full flow, you get it. When you naturally step back to lather, shampoo, the flow reduces. Not a whole lot, but enough to make some big savings. And then if you're shaving in the shower, your legs, your face, it sees you doing that. So like when I bend down naturally to do that, it's like, oh, she just needs a little bit of water on her back to keep her warm, rinse her blade. Got it. And then when you turn it off, you have this option. It can say, what percentage did you save? So I know like in my shower, most days I'm saving between 50 and 60%. I've had days where I'm in and out, and I saved 90% on my shower. I like that. That's encouraging. I don't want you to be overwhelmed by this, so anybody who really wants to have all of this information, we will have this PowerPoint available to you. The things that I want to just point out to you is, so we have the hardware, and this is our amazing, wicked smart software. So part of changing that conversation, part of making this second nature, is you have to have a really smart product that's going to be able to deliver on what everybody wants in their shower space. And here's the thing, too, about water in the bath space overall. There's not enough data, and that's part of why we had to have this conversation. We have to have a kind of conversation that says, well, like Carl said, what are governments what are governments doing about this, right? So it's, why don't we bring in consumers and the government, entrepreneurs, the private sector, and why don't we collectively start thinking about creating some fresh ideas that offer simple solutions that are really effective, and they would be products or services that we would all willingly use. So on the IoT, I think you should jump on here, because this is really
we're all seeing the smart homes, and we're seeing Nest, and we're seeing all kinds of temperature controls and thermostat controls and things like that. Well, what we like about where we're sitting is we control the flow. So there's a lot of systems out there that are going to be looking at monitoring flow and analyzing it and then reporting data to ourselves and data to the utility companies, the governments, to be able to make better decisions in the future. Totally makes sense. But you're not controlling anything. All you're doing is reporting on what's already going down the drain as such. So from our point of view, we like to sit right at the front, which is, let's look at the control in the consumer space and the plumbing, and then let's look at the control in, well, wait a minute, there's a lot of other water use areas out there, agriculture, et cetera, that we can also apply this technology to, and we are, such that we can actually start at the end user point. Infrastructure and all that wonderful stuff is going to be taken care of by the folks that we vote for. There's not much of a laugh going on here. We don't play there. We can't play there. We can advise them, and we can certainly give them the data to be able to help them make better decisions going forward. So what we really do like about our positioning here is from the Internet of Things point of view is that we can actually create that data, use it, send it in, and give it to the people that need to have it to make those decisions. That, we think, is by far one of the most important things going forward here as well.
And we all know what smart home automation is about. I'm guessing there's a few of you that might have an Alexa or an Echo or maybe Apple's HomeKit. So of course we want to be smart, and we want to be connected, and we want this to be, again, really easy for you. So this whole IoT piece was brilliant. It really is what sets this product apart. So where are we today? Well, we are ready for production. We have our 5th generation device. Let me get a free hand here because I can show this to you. We have contracted U.S. manufacturers that have partnered with us. It was really important for me to build this right here, so we had full control over the quality. We don't want a product that's going to fall apart in a year and look like crud in a year, so we are like, this thing has to be, when you open it up, you go, of course I want this thing. So this is all taken care of, and I'm excited that the guys came out today because our marketing team is growing. And I can wear a lot of hats, but not very well. So let's give it to the experts here so they can share the awareness on this. Can you hold this for just a second for me, though?
Yep.
You can be Oprah.
By the way, we met Oprah last night. This is it? This Bradshaw introduced it to Oprah last night, and this is the follow-up. Come on.
Gotta tell you, you come into Pasadena, it's always an experience that I always like. I have this grin on my face. People are like, what is she smoking? And I'm like, well, it's legal here, right? No, I'm kidding. So this is actually the device. So it's not a shower head, and I know that was the confusion. People were like, oh, it's a shower head. No, it's not a shower head. It's a device that works with your shower head. So what I have on here, because the last people I was showing this to are hospitality. So we have a lot of verticals that we can go in. So just think, anywhere there's a shower, there should be an epiphany. So it's actually this device. This is where it screws onto your shower. Your shower head, whether it be a standard fixed shower head like this, or like I prefer a shower wand, so I can do all the rinsing of the shaving cream and such. And so this literally goes onto your feed tube, and that's it. And again, like I said, once you install it straight out of the box, it already has presets. If you want to download the app and join the rest of the world and stay connected and keep this conversation going, you can. And then you can set your personal settings on that. You can track your savings. You can set volume limits, time limits, all of that. Yes, and then all this IoT capturing data. Every 10 seconds we get this verifiable, quantifiable data, which is huge, because I know like Nest has their thermostat. It's not verifiable. This is. I don't know what else to say about this thing, except that, yes. Oh, one of the things I think that was really interesting about this, though, was when Carl was saying, we have created a new category in fashion plumbing, and this is it. And this is just the beginning. So the beauty about this, too, is the technology that we have put together has so many other applications, and as Carl mentioned, we're just starting in the shower space because that's where nothing's happened for 20 years. We're going to go into other places too, and that's something that we'd like you to stay tuned for. And so what we want to leave you with today, we hope that your takeaway is that you feel empowered and confident that yes, you can be part of the solution. And it's an easy thing to do. We're going to open up for some questions. And
just a couple more.
Oh,
there's just a couple more. Just from a business point of view and a marketing point of view, just so we understand where we're looking. The market is extremely large. These are the kinds of numbers that we're looking at in terms of the possible installations across the United States as well as globally. So the number of shower heads in the world is obviously very large. And there's where you guys are. There's a very niche target market to start with. This is what you call your greenfluencers. This is our tribe as such, the lowest hanging fruit, whatever you like to call it. But this is the folks that are, one, the most in need, and two, the most likely to say, yes, put my hand up, we've got to start at the shower ourselves as well. So. And then real quick, because I can see the hook coming out, is we have a plan going forward here. So we are in the process of, as Kerry said, the manufacturing and everything else is absolutely 100% done and ready. The patents are in place. We are doing an Indiegogo crowdfunding starting in April around Water and Earth Day, right in between, so that we can match that traffic up. We've got ongoing investor discussions, both with partners and potential suppliers in that value chain as such, but are absolutely looking for strategic investment as opposed to straight equity investment. We are looking for strategic partners as part of this, and we're sort of looking forward to the next 3 months to get this thing really launched. So right now we're just going to open it up and we're going to start talking.
Thank you, Kerry and Carl. Saving water is fun, and now it's easy. I'd like to open up for Q&A. If you have some questions, John's going to walk around with the microphone, ask a question. If you want to talk about how long your shower is or how long your kid's shower is, let's just save that for later. So John, if you walk around.
Actually, real quick, guys, as well, so one of the takeaways here is if you go to piffnyshower.com/Pasadena on the right-hand side, you can identify yourself as, if you would like to continue this conversation, there's 4 different options to do that. If anybody understands digital marketing, auto-responding email systems, that kind of stuff, that's what you're going to go into. You'll get an email. We will not be sending you a bunch of stuff that you do not want, but it's a way in which you can stay connected.
Hi, thank you both for the talk and for your passion and commitment to this. My question is, how much does it cost? And since you clearly do a lot of research, about how much time does it take to pay that back in your water bills?
Great question. So we're looking at a $349 price point, and the ROI would be seen depending on the region you live in, and also how many people are using that. So on average, it's about $100 plus per person per year. So here in like the Los Angeles area, most families of 4 would see an ROI in less than 6 months. If it's just you or you and a partner, maybe 9 months. We know worst case scenario was 18 months. And then most of the people that we spoke to said, if I could get an ROI in less than 2 years, I'm in. So the 6 months to 18 months was like, yes, please and thank you.
One thing to keep in mind, the price that you're paying for water today, you should be smiling, because it's going nowhere but up. It's artificially already set as such, and it will be going up significantly, and it already has. We've got lots of data across the world showing that.
Yeah, it was 41% when we last checked is how much water's increased over the years. Yes?
I'm sorry, questions over here.
Oh, sorry.
Just following up on the price point. So, there's some folks who have money who can say, okay, I can do an ROI in 18 months, that sort of thing. There's a lot of people who wouldn't have enough for like a $400 emergency in a month, right? And so have you been thinking about anything that would be available for lower income folks so that they can also contribute to saving money and saving water?
Absolutely, and thank you for that question. So yes, because you heard from the very beginning, my mission is water and food. How do we save as much water as possible and make sure that we can do these 2 things? And you don't want to disenfranchise anybody. So what I've been working on is meeting with decision makers of these types of plans at water utilities and the electric and gas companies to say, we need a program that you will either subsidize or give these products to them, and we are willing to do them at absolute cost to get those into those families. So absolutely, yes. And thank you again for that question.
And again, you've already seen that the mandates and the rebates are already sitting in place. But I'll give you an example. In Ontario, there is a rebate for shower heads that you can buy through a number of our local utilities, and Ontario is a very large population. And if I buy a shower head, I can send in and I can get a rebate. Have a guess how much they're giving me in Canadian dollars.
25.
6. So if we think the government are going to help us, that's a bit silly, right? $6. So that's not working.
Back here.
So, question, two things. First of all, you don't package it with a shower head. If you thought why, and because you could have just, because if I'm going to bring this in and I just want to replace my whole system, now I have to think about another shower head and this and that. So it's another thing to think about. Why didn't you package it with a shower head? And the second part of the question is, so in the United States, over 41% of water wastage is done through power companies, and 37.5% is done through agriculture. The water wastage for humans is less than 5%. So is this really going to make a difference?
Again, thanks for the question. I'm going to start backward. Yes, it's going to make a big difference because, as we showed you, there are more than 220 million showers in the U.S. alone. Worldwide, it's a billion? This is where we start, yes, because if you use less water in your shower, you're putting less water into the sewer system, which is then you're not having to treat as much water. And I understand what you're saying, and ag, we're going there. We're going to get here first, and then we're going there. As far as the shower head, well, I love my shower wand. I don't want to switch that out. I have friends that love, their stationary shower head. I didn't want to go out and reinvent another shower head. There's a gazillion of them out there. So that would be a tough job to say, well, what does everybody want in a shower head? So making this complement your existing shower head, and it even gives you the ability to save it even more. So if you're somebody who says, hey, I can do okay with a 1.75 gallon per minute shower head, and then I'm going to put your Epiphany with it, and now my savings are going to be even higher, yay. If you're somebody like me and most kind of average Jane and Joe says, look, I really like my shower. It's my sacred place. I have things to do in there. I've got long hair. I got to get the conditioner out. I got the shaving cream out. So can I have at least a 2.0 gallon per minute shower head? You put the Epiphany with that, and now you're going to get these 50 to 60% savings. So, down the road as technology becomes more available, things are getting smaller. Think of your phones. Gosh, remember when they first came out? It was like, I'm taking my suitcase in my car. And now, look how tiny they are. Well, this is what you'll see with Epiphany products. We always are on the cutting edge of what's available. So at some point, we will have a shower head that is all-inclusive. But again, this is what we have, this is what we know we've tested, and this is what's ready to go now. So let's go, there's urgency. If we wait till we think we have the perfect product for everybody, you're gonna miss a big window, and then we're gonna have worse water conditions. So that's why I didn't invent a shower head yet, just this.
I'd also say that in terms of whether you can actually start at that sort of 1 to 5% small market, we need to change the culture. We need to change the way in which we're looking at things. And if I came to you and asked you to buy a Tesla 6 years ago, you're not going to be the first one. We need to get them. We need to get people thinking about this in their shower, starting that conversation, and then move them up that ladder. So we know we can. So the question is, why did you do it? Because we can. We can do it, and you can do it, and we don't have to rely on outside government funding and all that kind of stuff to be able to save water to start with, and then we can move up. You're correct. Agriculture is an absolutely massive waste of water, massive, dwarfs the home market. And we are absolutely in that space right now, looking at, well, we've gone past that. We are going to be going there. But before we can go there, we need to actually get this market thinking different and the culture starting to actually be created at that level, and then you can move up.
Over here.
Hi, Pat Holmes, Pasadena Angels. So, the group is oriented toward entrepreneurship and innovation, and a lot of people have ideas in the shower or wherever. And so I'm curious about your journey from idea to product. So how long did it take you? What resources did you find helpful? Because you have a patent, so you had to deal with a patent attorney, you had to find a manufacturer. Maybe you could talk about a little bit about what kind of resources you found helpful for other budding entrepreneurs or budding inventors here.
Awesome, yeah, thanks for asking. It's been an incredible journey. I always wanted to go get an MBA, and my partner says, I think you already earned one through this, but this was probably as expensive as getting an MBA. So from having the idea, I literally went to doing a patent search and a product search. And so I did a very broad landscape to see if there was anything like that out there. Once I couldn't find anything, then I did call a patent attorney, and I did a lot of negotiating. Like, if you want to be part of this journey, could you give me the friends and family discount, even though this is the first time you're meeting me? So we went through patent attorneys. Yes, we did provisionals. We were just smart enough to actually write our own and then have him weigh in on there, so we saved money there. We did third-party market research after we did our own consumer research, and I got to tell you, I actually went in the field. I went to Lowe's, Home Depot's, Restoration Hardware. I talked to people everywhere, every day, asking them what they thought the problem was and what they thought the solution would be. And when I shared what I had and what we thought we could do with it, it was overwhelmingly like, oh my gosh, yes, and gosh, how come this wasn't thought of a long time ago? And I'm like, it was waiting for us. So there were incubators in Cincinnati. I will say it's a different breed there, so helpful as far as SCORE is what I really took advantage of. So I don't know if you all know what SCORE is, but if you don't, I know he can describe it, explain it probably better than me. But I just surrounded myself with really super smart people that were experts in all of these categories that I only knew enough to either be dangerous or slightly helpful to the cause here. So let's see, idea, test the market, see what customers really want, pricing. We did a lot of surveys nationally. Help me out. What was the next thing you asked? Prototype. Yep, we did a proof of concept. We call it our MacGyver unit. It's going to be in our little museum for our grandkids to be like, oh, look what Nana did. So yeah, the proof of concept, and then we did a lot of prototypes. And that's where we found out we had other applications with this technology. So
What number are we up to?
this is the 5th generation one. The strategy too, what was really helpful was thinking about where did this really need to go? Who are going to be the people going, yes, please? Well, I know it's us. I know it's Australia. Japan, because my goodness, they're the ones who brought out the decent low flush toilet, Toto. So I said, look, this is where we need to go so that we can cover it, protect it, but then we're also going to be in areas where people are going to be really receptive to it. As far as like funding, I'm the one who always picks up the tab. I'm not comfortable anybody paying anything for me. So imagine that opportunity, growth opportunity of saying, I need some money and I don't want it to come from friends and family because I still want to be friends and family if this went south. So I literally met people on airplanes and at networking events, and I just shared. And we raised about $250,000 in seed money, and that's what helped us get quite a distance into like prototypes and all that. And then we did a lot of self-funding. So Top Ramen, discount clothes at Marshall's, a lot of walking. Our story's not that unique to other, entrepreneurs and startup companies. It's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, trial and error. I think the biggest piece was just know what your weaknesses are and what your strengths are. And where those weaknesses are, go find the expert. Like, go to this guy. If you want to know about finance and stuff, go talk to John. If you want to know how to do marketing, where's Mike? Yeah, talk to Mike. So I don't know. Did that answer your question enough? Or
How about the next questions over here?
I could just say, just don't give up. If you really feel in your gut that you've got something and you're getting validation each time the green light goes, just keep going. Just keep going.
Hi, so mine is more a comment than a question. I really appreciate you talking about conservation and doing something about it. For me, it's also about protecting the water that we have now, right? So things that are happening in North Dakota as far as the Native Americans and protecting the land, I think changing the culture and realizing that water is life and that yes, we want to have water for our future generations, but if we teach the generations now to respect the water, because what is the point of having water if it's polluted? Right, if we can't use it. So definitely I think having a conversation around what's going on with the government, what's going on with the pipeline, what's going on in North Dakota, and learning to teach our future generations to respect the water and the land is also a conversation to have.
Can I ask you what your name is?
My name is Jacqueline.
Jacqueline, hi. It's nice to meet you. And I really love your question. I am also Native American Indian, and you're absolutely right. This is why this conversation has to happen. When Carl said, the government, we can't change all that except by, voting them out. And some of these people aren't voted in. They're hired in. Good luck. But what we can do is we can make enough noise. So remember, we're disruptors for good. If we make enough noise over here and they see like, oh, wait a minute, the people are starting in their own shower. We haven't seen any movement change in that in 20 years. They're using this epiphany. It's become second nature. It's a no-brainer. We're going to pay attention to that. And then what's happening is I have a little 8-year-old granddaughter. She has been picking up, just like I did with my grandfather. She's the one policing her 5 siblings. Look, don't blush. And what does she say? Yeah, she gets it all screwed up all the time. But she'll say, you can blush, but you can't flush toilet. I'll pee in the morning. I'm like, what? And we're low flush toilets. It's okay. No, Nana. Or if they're running the tap, brushing their teeth, she reminds them, no, there's your cup. You get this much water. Bath time, she knows. We have a Sharpie. That's where the water line goes. So it's becoming already part of her DNA. So you're right. That's where it starts. That's where it starts.
Over here. Question.
I just want to suggestion do some market research because I visit Israel often. Israel is very famous having very smart water control system for agriculture. And I also visit my colleagues there all the time. All their toilets and their shower heads has been having kind of water conservation program. And because it's a desert, right? So I suspect they already have some very successful programs and devices. So do some market research. You can learn from them. You can do better than them.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up. So we have a lot of Israeli friends that we've actually worked with in corporate America before. We do plan on bringing the product to the Middle East. We know that our friends in Israel actually do have some really smart products. They don't have this though. So we will be working with them. One of the things that we did on this business model was we know what happens in how to handle things in the U.S. with our manufacturers, and we know our culture here. I'm not the expert with things that happen in Israel. So we set up what we call TOCs, Territorial Operation Companies. So here's the product, here's the guidelines, and then here, we trust that you're smart enough, so we're gonna give you the license that you can manufacture it in your own backyard. And that's what Israelis are really excited about is, yeah, they can't take the credit that they got it. They go, high five, well done, help us bring it to our country. So thank you, yes, let's stay in touch. I would love to know more about what you know.
Got 3 more questions. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you guys for the conversation, much appreciated. I do a lot of bathroom remodels. People are really picky about their finishes. Is the shiny the only finish you have right now?
Great question. So my background is actually an interior designer. And so when I thought of this, the first thing I thought of was I knew exactly the 3 customers in my head that were going to say, I'm not sticking some albatross on my shower and blah, blah, blah. So I said, this thing has to be aesthetically pleasing. It's got to be sleek and kind of sexy, and so you don't mind it being in your shower. So yes, it's in chrome because 80% of fashion plumbing is still chrome. But if you like oil rub bronze, did I say that right? Oil rub bronze, satin nickel, brushed nickel, stainless, it will be in all the popular fashion plumbing finishes. And one thing that's really cool about this, how should I say this? Like Apple-esque. This is a high-quality device. This isn't Alibaba. I got it online for $49.95. No. This is luxury in your shower. So we're having this made as if it was a Bentley. Like the chrome on this thing is insane. Our contractor is a tier 1 supplier in the automotive industry. So the chrome that you see on Tesla and Cadillacs and all that, that's what's on this device. And just a little FYI, the warranty on this would be 2 years. This particular, I've done nothing with this except take a dry thing and wipe it off when I'm taking it out of the shower. This has been so beat up, it's traveled the world. It's kind of like, where's Waldo? It's like, where's the Epiphany now? This thing looks just, and you guys can just be careful because if you drop it, I'm kind of screwed. But this thing is beautiful. And of course, I tested it with people. I didn't get any pushback. And one of the really cool things is when I talked about hang out with people who are smarter because they're going to give you better ideas that you wouldn't have thought of. Well, okay, yeah, I'm 5'2" on a good day. You know, the shower height's never been a real issue for me. If anything, it's been like, oh, can I try to reach it to put it down on me? Well, I have a lot of friends that are 6'5". They said, Kerry, maybe you wouldn't have thought of this, but when you're going to do another design, because the first one was kind of horizontal, he said, could you make it more vertical? Because I could use another 6 or 7 inches. And I knew there was a bad joke in there, so I said, yeah, let me think about this. And so I redid the design. And that's why we're on the 5th generation, because, like I said, and that goes kind of to your question about how did you do this and how did you kind of like flesh things out. Bringing in everybody, because everybody has an opinion, but sometimes they're really good ones, and sometimes their perspective helps you have a better one. So yeah, vertical design, you can add almost 5 to 7 inches of space in your shower. So thanks for that question, because yes, it has to look pretty. Oh, and there's other generations of this. This is the first one because it's a retrofit, it's easy, it's the biggest market, and will solve the problem really quickly. But for people who are renovating their bathroom or new construction, we have a behind-the-wall system. And there's a lot of secret things about that one. So again, if you guys want to be part of this tribe and help us really change this conversation, you want to know something, oh, and if you want a deal on your Epiphany, we're going to have a code for you, then yeah, just keep this conversation going and ask us those questions and challenge us, because we're not perfect, but we are forever students, so we're listening.
Over here.
Hi, I'm Valerie.
Hi, Val.
I have a question about the data collection and the data processing. And does it have to be connected to the internet in order to work? Because I can tell you in our home, there's no way in the world my husband would allow a device in our shower that is reporting to anybody anything about our shower habits. So can you install it and have it work without the data component?
Yes. Yes. So you would have the option if you wanted to have your data collected, and you also would have that data, it would be yours. You would own it. It would go into a very high secure cloud that our company owns and would never share that. But if you said, but no, I want to participate in rebates so I can get my unit discounted or even free, it would be up to you to decide, okay, do I want to share this data? And the only data that you can have it collect is how much water am I using, what's my average temperature, so we understand like the energy need to heat that water, and then how much of that water is going into the sewer system. So it's not like invasive information, but you don't have to have it. It's the device? Oh, absolutely, yes, yes, yes. And like I said earlier, straight out of the box, you put it in, it's already got set points. It's got an anti-scald. Like I said, it knows when you're in there and when you're not. So if you're one of those, you warming up the shower and it takes 30 seconds or a minute and you've wandered off to read one more email or pick out your tie, when it gets up to temperature and it knows you're not there, it dials it back to a trickle, and you either hear it or you can see the flow just reduced. You know, it's time to get in my shower. And then again, it's completely automatic. That flow is continuously changing based on your activity in there. So yeah, you're in charge of it.
Last question.
Is it possible to install a holding tank that would collect water from the shower and the sink and route it into the toilet tank?
No. It's actually funny you said that, because we actually talked about that last night. And one of the things is, if you go to an RV, you've got gray water and black water, right? Why are our houses not doing that? Why is my toilet being flushed with the most potable water in the world? That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. We're not in that space. That is a conversation that should be had, in my opinion, for all new housing. Absolutely. Makes sense. And in Australia, I've got family down there, they actually have multiple water sources. So they'll have city water and then they'll catch the water, and many houses actually do that themselves in that environment, but they're one-offs. This is not a cultural change at all, but it totally makes sense.
Thank you, Kerry and Carl. Please give them a warm round of applause. We're going to take a picture of you guys with the group here. And while you're doing that, we'll call up Greg. We're running short on time, so Greg, we're going to keep your pitch real short. Yeah, let's step down here. We'll make sure and get everybody in the picture. Okay, you guys ready? Let's make this fun in the back. We're lovely Pasadena. Your marks, get set, go, photobomb. All right, everybody say water conservation. 1, 2, 3. Awesome, thank you, everybody. All right, I'm going to hand it over. Yep, thank you. Real quick, Greg. 2-minute presentation of what you're working on, and then we'll do maybe one question, and then we'll wrap up for the day.
Got it. Okay. Good morning, everybody. My name is Greg Apodaca, and my company is called Community 2.0. Community 2.0 helps people understand the disconnect between the way we think, which is linear, and the way change is happening, which is exponential. This was actually a great example of how we don't think about water conservation until it's too late, and then, oh shit, right? The oh shit moment. The disconnect that we're talking about now is exponential change. Exponential change is easily described by Uber and Lyft taking advantage of cell phones and internet technology to replace taxi cabs. Same thing with Instagram, digital photography taking the place of Kodak, which is now belly up. Futurists say that every aspect of our society is going to be changed by exponential technology. It will be disrupted. That means your business or your idea will be disrupted in the very near future. The first thing that we are trying our concept on is actually the lowest tech organization you can think of. Outward Bound Adventures takes inner city youth into the wilderness for transformational experiences. So we asked them a couple of questions. Why did you start? They started because they were environmentalists. Now it's an environmental crisis. They started to expose kids to the wilderness. Now we need to expose everybody to environmental awareness and using low-flow products and saving energy however we can. 9 years ago, they decided to teach kids job skills as well. Now there's a huge need in the environmental sector to diversify their employee base. So in an exponential way, they can ramp up their programs. And instead of depending on charitable donations, which is a drag, if you're a nonprofit, you know all about that, we want to partner. We showed them how to partner with for-profit organizations so that they can train their kids, which they want to do, and which their partners need. So that's it.
Thank you. One quick question. What can we as a group here in the community do to help you?
Hire me. We'd love to help you look at your organization, do some research. How is your organization connected to the internet or exponential technology in any way? Look into the future and see what some solutions are to help you and to help the organization, our world. Really, we need everybody to transform so that we can not just save energy, but save our planet. It's a disaster. It's a crisis situation.
All right, thank you, Greg. All right, everybody. So like I mentioned at the beginning, we do this every week. Next week, we have a very, very great presenter, Richard Wolfe. If you are familiar with Richard, I think I said his last name right. Richard, back in the 90s, he was president of Disney Internet and helped initially kick that off. He's a founder and venture partner at Amplify LA. He's done things in the startup world for decades. Very, very fascinating story. So he actually just wrote a book called The Soul of the Deal. And it talks about, he was initially, I think his first tech job was working for Apple and creating some of the first Macintosh software. So he's going to tell how to negotiate deals, how to get things done. Very good presentation. We're very excited to have him, so we'll look forward to having you next week. Have a great weekend.